Thank y'all for allowing me to interview y'all. So let's begin with y'all's names and your education background.
All right, I'm Felicia Richardson, and we're talking about my education or like
Your education background.
Okay, so I got a 4-year degree in English, and then I was able to go back to get my master's in the art of teaching and my specialist in gifted education.
I'm Spencer Richardson, and I have a master's in secondary math education, or I have a bachelor's in secondary math education from Thomas University, and I have a teacher leadership degree, master's from Kennesaw State.
Okay, and then what grade levels and content do y'all teach?
I teach 9th grade and Lit Comp, literature and composition.
I teach math, and I have 9th graders and 10th graders.
Do y'all prefer direct instruction, guided instruction, or constructive approaches to teaching, and why?
For me, I feel like I like guided instruction more. I feel like I need students to practice with me and then practice on their own. I don't do a whole lot of project-based learning. I do like to give them critical thinking questions, but other than that, I'll guide and then I'll let them practice. I'll guide and then I'll let them practice.
And with math, I'm very similar. We're working, I'll teach, they work, I teach, they work, and it's more of a guided approach versus direct instruction and they're done. So.
Okay. And how important is developing critical thinking skills or creativity in your students? And can you share an example of activities that y'all do to promote critical thinking?
I think personally critical thinking is really important. I think that you need to be able to learn how to think critically about topics. So I'm always posing questions in class for people to, and my students to kind of think through and process. And I love adding creative elements in there too, because so many different students have different learning abilities. What I'll think a project that I did several years ago is when students had to come up with a community service learning project, and they had to figure out what community service organization they wanted to support. They had to write an informational essay about them. Then they had to write an argument why we should choose their organization to support. Then they had to plan a basketball game to raise money to support it, because I want them to be able to learn and take the skills that we're talking about in class and apply it to real world application.
Can you outdo her?
No, I cannot. But
when you did your
oh, you're talking about,
yeah.
I got you. So in math, critical thinking is key, just because of it's I don't know, the intensity of it and the pace of it, and just being able to, variables and numbers, they don't go together. But as 9th graders and 10th graders, they have to apply variables and numbers together in order to think outside and solve different equations and formulas and all that kind of stuff. But as far as like projects based, and we're looking at doing a project for exponentials. We're finishing up our exponentials unit, and we're looking at doing a project where they're going to create their own exponential problems and do just a PowerPoint poster board kind of thing. And then we did quadratics, and we had kids build catapults out of popsicle sticks and shoot like little, I think it was pumpkins. And they had to record all their stuff, how far they shot, like the maximum height and all that, and then work backwards to find the equations and all. So
That sounds like a lot of math.
it was.
Okay, how would y'all describe your classroom management style, and what tips would you have for me about classroom management?
I'll go first. Classroom management for me is probably different than most teachers in the education field. I'm going to build the relationships with the kids, and when I build those relationships, the kids will work and respect me in the classroom. There are some teachers that are uptight, and like the kids have to be quiet and silent. But if you walk into my room, my kids are talking and they're having the mathematical conversation to better their math knowledge and build their social skills. Advice to you would be build the relationships. Once you build the relationships, the kids will work for you. I've seen it as far as with our kids having to take the Georgia Milestones Assessment. Kids will work hard, they conversate, they have fun in class, and they will, at the end of the year, perform and do well for you on the test.
I think I take more of a holistic approach where I care about the whole kid, and I try to create that relationship. But at the end of the day, I want them to create relationships with each other too. I want them to own the classroom. It's not just me managing the room. So I use social contracts where we come up with the list of things that we're going to do to treat one another. Things like we're going to, give respect. Well, what does that look like? We're going to give our effort. Well, what does our best effort look like? So they're really a part of creating the culture of the classroom. But the expectation comes from me. So I set my expectations very, very clear up front about how the classroom is going to operate through the social contract, the words and things that we've decided that we're going to do, and how we're going to operate. And I try to model that to the best of my ability and kind of constantly draw their attention back to that. So I guess my advice for you would be, you can't do what somebody else does. You have to kind of figure out what works for you. So if you feel like you need to be, especially as a young teacher, very, very stern at the beginning, and then you can kind of build that relationship with them and show them that you care, then you need to do that. Some people will tell you, don't smile until December, and I just don't think that's true. I think you should smile and care for the kids and let them know that you want them to be there. But at the end of the day, you still have high expectations, and they need to rise to meet them, because kids will.
Yeah.
They'll meet those expectations that you set, especially if they know that you care about them, you're for them, and that they are involved in the process of the classroom culture.
Okay, and to what extent do y'all believe it is the teacher's job to motivate students to learn, and how does it relate to the students developing their sense of agency?
I think teachers are an important factor, but they're not the only factor. If, like he said, if they know that you care about them, they're going to work for you. But they do have to have that intrinsic motivation too. I can't do that for them. They say that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing for a student. I can't want it more than you, but I try to create a classroom where they want it. I try to create a classroom where they see success and where they are validated by that and are encouraged by that. So students who might come in and say, I've never done well in English, by the end of it, they're like, oh, I can do well. I know how to read a book. I can learn to write these things, and I'm going to do good for you. And I think that motivates them. So success motivates. And if they see those little successes along the way, because you're guiding them and helping them and encouraging them, I think that that's important for them, because then they have that agency. Well, I can do it on my own. That I do, we do, you do process of instruction. Like, I'm going to do it, I'm going to show you. But then you've got to do it. We're going to do it together. I'm going to support you. But then I'm setting you up with the tools that you need to do it on your own.
Yeah.
And I would kind of piggyback off of her, the whole caring about the kids and celebrating the small successes, especially in math too. They come in defeated because they have test after test after test, and they're held accountable from 3rd grade to 9th grade in math, and they're held accountable. So you celebrate the small successes, and you celebrate the small hurdles that they get across, and that shows the students that they do know what they're doing. They are capable of doing this, and then you continue to celebrate those small successes, and then come test time, they do well on our unit test, and then later on they get to the big test, and then we celebrate that just in the classroom. We just celebrate huge. So I mean, celebration of the small things and
progress.
getting.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah,
but
no,
progress.
just progress, because you're gonna have kids come in that are defeated because they haven't been successful in whatever subject area that they're in, and some of them are coming in not successful in any subject area, and then you can have that composure and that willingness to help that kid succeed, and then again, that kid's gonna work for you at the end of the day.
Okay, and how do y'all assess student learning?
I think the biggest things we do daily assessments where I'm asking you a question and I want you to answer. So that's kind of that informal way of me getting observational data, just kind of figuring out, we just taught this, can you apply it? But then we have, major assessments where we're assessing your knowledge at the end of the unit, where we have to say, okay, you have to show what you know, and we've practiced this, and this is your application. But for me, I just like the informal things going and leading up to, because that's what helps me most. Like the end of the unit assessments, they're good. They can kind of show you the whole thing, like as far as the entire unit understanding. But if you want to see what they know, you have to do it informally kind of throughout the unit. And then you can kind of adjust your instruction to their needs. Because at the end of it, it's kind of over. It's like, okay, this was it.
Yeah.
But throughout you can say, all right, well, we didn't get that. How can we go back and how can we fix it before we get to the end?
Yeah, and not everybody's good with tests.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
Right.
it's like
absolutely.
that freaks people out
Mhm.
sometimes.
Mhm.
Yeah, we do a lot of informal stuff. We do a lot of like ticket in the doors, ticket out the doors, and then too just like working in there. We do packets and just the kids working in their packets and me walking around and going, "Hey, you messed up right here." That lets me know that kid's made a simple mistake, and I can hit it the next day or hit it and walk around the room and see what other kids are doing. If they're making the same mistake, then we come back together as an entire class and go through that question. Just small informal checks here throughout the unit, like she said, through the unit helps us more with understanding what the kid's struggling with than waiting to the end of the unit and testing and then going, oh, this kid doesn't know this.
Right.
But when we do
'Cause
it,
you can't go back and
Can't go
read
back.
the whole
Right.
unit.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
so-
and then too, for me, when students ask questions, that's the assessment to me as well. Like, if they're asking a question about a topic, it shows me they didn't understand the question, or I have phrased the question in a way that's not valid. So that helps me too. It gives me feedback as far as what I need to do to make things more clear.
and too, not just like paper copies. If I'm standing up on the board, I don't even have to look at a kid and just call their name out when I'm asking a question.
Mhm.
And then if that kid hesitates, then that tells me mentally that that kid didn't understand the question that I'm asking or doesn't understand this at all.
Yeah.
And then just, I don't have to turn around and look at anybody. A lot of teachers put like the randomizer wheel up on the board and spin it, or have like popsicle sticks and pull popsicle sticks out of a cup or something like that. But as you progress, you learn kids' names and you can call them right off the bat, and that lets you know mentally that little Johnny doesn't know this.
Yeah.
But then I can call little Johnny again and he gets this concept. And then too, like partnerships in classrooms, like pairs, trios, quads. I mean,
Because they grew up.
they do.
Yeah.
They do.
Well, we talk about it all the time in my classroom. I love productive chatter because it shows that there's critical thinking happening. And if I know something that you don't know, I can help you, and then you probably know something that I don't know. And that also is an informal check.
Okay, a question to bounce off of that.
Mhm.
How do y'all keep the classroom chatter being focused on school instead of focusing on outside of the classroom gossip?
Well, so for me, it goes back to the social contract. So, like, we have words on there, and I'll say, all right, well, today while we're working, what words from our contract will help guide our conversation? If we know that we're going to be talking with a partner, we're going to be working, I'll say, what word from up here would kind of guide us? And they'll say something like, some of the words are like accountable. And I'll say, all right, well, what does accountable look like when we're working on something in the classroom and you've got time? And they're like, well, it means that we're not getting off task, or we're not, going somewhere else. And I'm like, all right, that's perfect. So what are we going to do if we get off task? I say, we're going to check them. And we don't check them like in your face, but it's like, hey, let's get back focused. I'm going to hold you accountable, and you're going to hold me accountable. Because in my classroom, I've created or tried to create an atmosphere where everybody feels comfortable working together. And they feel comfortable saying, hey, let's get back on track. And then if I see as a class we're getting off, I'll be like, all right, time out. What are we doing here? What are we supposed to do? Can we do that? Let's get back to it.
Yeah, and I'm very similar. We have a social contract in our classroom as well. And I don't necessarily pick out a word, but we hold each other accountable to that social contract. And if a kid's getting off task, I fully encourage like my kids to create that mathematical discourse. And it's just like the product. What did you call it? Productive conversation.
Productive chatter.
Yeah. And in math, we do the mathematical discourse, and if it starts veering off of that, it's just a slight redirection.
Yeah.
And most of the time, I mean, I've built a relationship with the kids, and most of the time they fix it. And if they don't, then we go further into the social contract and, hey, are we doing this? Are we holding each other accountable? And then my class is in groups, so they hold each other accountable extremely well.
Well, then after you set the expectation up at the front, like what you expect and how you operate, and like when you can redirect with respect and say, all right, hey, we're getting off task. Like, what's the goal here? Ultimately, why are you doing this? And usually it's for we're learning a concept or we're practicing a skill. So when you kind of direct them back to the whole purpose of it, and that doesn't mean it happens every time, but you've created a classroom where your students hopefully respect you because you've respected them and they want to work for you. So.
And they self-manage too.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the
a lot
goal of the
kids are-
contract is to help them self-manage too, and not be dependent on you as the teacher to do the all.
Okay, And do y'all differentiate instruction, and if you do, how?
I think that's a critical. You have to do it in education, and it's not like you learn about in school all the time, where you're having to come up with all these different things. Differentiation can happen kind of on the fly. Like for me, a lot of the times, is if I'm getting some questions, I'll have to go in and say, okay, well, this question didn't make sense. How can I rephrase it in a way that makes sense to you? Now, it can mean I'm given, different tasks, and you get to choose. You can pick a partner. You can pick one of these projects. You don't have to do all of them. Pick one that best fits your needs. But sometimes it's just as simple as, let me figure out, what do you need from me at this moment? And it might be group by group. It might be, as a whole class I'm seeing, we have a deficiency, and I might just go back and kind of say, all right, this isn't working. Let me give you a piece of paper. Let me try it this way. And I've done that before. Kids sometimes don't work well with auditory. They need things in their hands, so I always try to have something in their hands. Some kids can't do a project if it's not creative, and they want that option, so I give them the option. It just is being flexible to their needs. To me, that's what it means.
And we're very similar to each other with differentiated instruction. A lot of the math stuff is easy because we do a lot of paper copies, but we also do digital things as well. So to give you an instance, we reviewed for a test this week, and I gave a paper copy of a test, and I also put 2 digital versions of a review in Google Classroom that were game-like, and the kids got to pick. I had the answer key to the review. They could get on the game and play the game, and a lot of them chose to do one, and they turn around and do the other. I didn't like, hey, you've got to do this way, or you've got to do this way. It was, you had the ability to pick which one you wanted to do, and a lot of the kids ended up doing all 3 of them.
That gives them that autonomy of choice.
To pick kind of what they want to do in the classroom. A lot of kids are technology based now. They much rather do something on the computer, but at the same time, my math brain is wanting to do it on paper. And a lot of my kids will do it on paper, work for 10 minutes, 15 minutes on paper, and then turn around and go to the computer and play the computer game. It was a escape room. Play it, and then beat it, and they come back to the paper. And just so that, and just having the ability to pull kids to the side. Like during instruction, we were reviewing, and we just took a quiz the previous day, and as the kids were working on that, my co-teacher and I pulled each kid to the side, pulled up their test, pulled up their quiz on the computer, and went through question by question for each kid. Even if they made a 93, we still looked at that one question they missed. So that's more of my differentiated instruction approach.
Okay. And what is the most challenging and most rewarding part of your job?
So I know this has been recorded, but the most challenging part is all of the red tape. It's all of the guidelines and different opinions about what's right, what's wrong. People in your departments who think that they know best, and you got to do exactly what they do. That's the challenging part when you're trying to tell people that you know your content, you have been an expert. You have to be flexible, and you have to be willing to work with people, but that's the challenging part, is working with adults. The most rewarding part is the kids. I absolutely feel so rewarded each and every single day with students who not only start to like your subject, but like you as a person and see you as somebody that they would want to emulate. You're the kind of person that I want to be, or like, you're so kind, and like getting those notes or words of affirmation from students about how you changed my life, your classroom felt like home. That is the rewarding part. And plus, getting to do it with my husband is pretty cool too.
I kind of piggyback off of her a little bit again, but I think the most challenging part is the kids. You have, that's not in a bad way. You do have you have a wide variety of kids. You're gonna have the kids that come in there that know everything, that have aced everything that they've done in their school career, and then you're gonna have kids that are mixed in, especially at the high school level, that haven't been very successful. But then your job is you have to meet every single student,
that's right.
And that's the challenging part, is you have to meet every single student, and every single one of those students is going to be testing the exact same thing at the end of the year. And I keep going back to the milestones assessment because I've seen it work, where I've worked extremely hard with those kids that haven't been successful, and then they turn around and make an 80 on the milestones assessment, and that's the rewarding piece for me, is the relationships that I build with the kids and seeing their reaction when they do extremely well on a test that covers the entire school year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then, I mean, just building the relationship piece is huge because, I mean, I see kids all the time that I've taught. I've been in education for 14 years, and they come up to me, they recognize me, and I recognize them, but I couldn't tell you their name. And they call me out from across Walmart,
Yeah,
and they make it a point to come and speak, and it speaks volumes of
because you
the
The
relationship,
impact
right?
that the
Right.
impact you can have. But on the flip side of that, if you have that much power to do a positive thing, you have that much power to be a negative influence too. So that's another thing that just you have to be so mindful of, because you can have such a great impact, but you can also really
be negative.
be negative
Right.
and tear
Yeah.
somebody down, and it have a lasting impact too.
Okay, and then what is the most important factor in being a happy, successful teacher?
I think at the end of the day, knowing that you can only do what you can do,
Mhm.
and you don't take it home. We're not great at
Took
that.
mine.
We're not
Took
great at
mine.
that because we talk at home all the time about the things that we worry about at school.
Yeah.
But you can only do so much. You can't
Mhm.
change adults' opinions. You can't change certain decisions that have been made. You can't change situations and circumstances, but you can have joy in the situation, and you can just choose to be joyful in the trials that you're going to face at school. But it's a balance. You have to leave it.
Yeah.
You can't bear the burdens of the world, especially because you're going to have a lot of them. You're going to see a lot of really hard things at school, and you're going to deal with a lot of really hard things. Kids are going to fail a test, and you're not going to know why.
Yeah.
Kids are going to act out, and you're going to have a difficult time with it, and you just can't take it personally. And you just have to leave it at the door, go home to your family, go home to your people, and just try again the next day.
Mhm.
And I again, piggybacking off of her because she took mine. The whole have the separation is key.
Mhm.
We do talk at home, but at the same time, like there is a limit to that
Mhm.
conversation.
Yeah.
Like I'm coaching 2 sports, so I'm not at home very much
Mhm.
throughout. Like right now, we're full swing baseball season,
Mhm.
and where I'm gone till 9-10 o'clock at night most nights, and we have a 30-minute window. We can talk about school for 30 minutes. We can talk about work for 30 minutes. At school, we can talk about baseball practice. We can talk about that. But after that 30-minute window's up, we're done
No
having a
more
conversation about it.
No.
Just because you have to have a personal life outside of the classroom.
Because
And-
teaching is what you do, it's not who you are.
Yeah.
It's hard to differentiate and separate that sometimes, especially when you care so much, when you have a caring heart and you care about kids a lot and you care about your job a lot and you want to do it right and well. But it's just what you do, it's not who you are.
Yeah.
You go to work, you do your job, and then you go home to your people. That's it.
I mean, too, you just, again, going back to student relationships, is if you have those student relationships with the kids, then you're going to be happy in both places.
Mhm.
Like, I've always told myself, if I wake up one morning and go, I don't feel like going to work, I hate going to work, I quit.
Yeah.
I quit. And I've been in it for 14 years and never had that thought cross my mind. And I think that's the important piece, is just the relationships that you look forward to seeing your kids each and every single day. And some of your kids look to see you each and every
Yeah.
single day.
You're
I
that
mean,
constant.
kids look forward to me standing at my doorway greeting them when they come in the room. And I've got kids that take that responsibility and come stand out there with me and greet every single kid.
Yeah.
And then just the, again, separation.
Yeah.
Don't take work home. Take work home, work for 30 minutes, an hour, and be done.
Yeah.
Enjoy family time, enjoy time at the house, have your downtime.
Yeah.
Okay, and what do y'all think will be the biggest challenge that I will face as a teacher? In today's society, in today's day and age, where
Honestly, people who think negatively of the profession.
I've had a lot of that.
So as soon as someone hears, you're going to teach, well, why would you do that? Why would you choose that? Because it is difficult.
Yeah.
So just that negative perception of education, it is hard. It's a tough job. Not everyone's called to be a teacher. But I think that that's the challenge that you're going to face and you're going to see. Because the kids aren't the problem. You can manage and you can really have a great time with students in the classroom. They can learn a lot. You can teach a lot. Y'all can have fun. It can be fun. But like you said, the minute that stops being fun, you don't need to be there anymore.
Yeah.
But it's people's perception of going into education. I could never do that. Okay, well, I'm not talking to you. This is me.
It's my life.
This is what I chose.
Yeah.
So just having that support is going to be a challenge, especially moving forward. It's only going to get tougher.
And to surrounding yourself with teachers that are willing to help you,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
willing to help you, that you're not just being thrown into the profession and being left at sea.
Yeah.
I had an awesome experience to where I was student taught at a school for my bachelor's, and I rolled straight in and had a phone call and asked to become a long-term sub at the same school that I left, that I just student taught at, and the department was awesome. And the guy that I student taught with, and that was the department head at the time, kind of influenced me to lead in the way that he led. And I've seen success with it, and it's going to be tough at times, but rely on the people around you, and rely on your church,
Yeah.
and rely on God to guide you through the
Absolutely.
situation.
Absolutely.
But other than that, I mean, you'll be fine.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that too, not becoming one of the negative people at work, having a positive outlook, because there are going to be a lot of negative people that teach but hate
Yeah.
kids.
I don't
so
understand why they teach.
you don't want to get into those conversations. You don't want to get into the teacher's lounge where people are constantly bashing kids, bashing the administration. You need to be, what do they call them, balcony people. Like, don't be a basement person. You're not trying to bring people down. You don't want to be somebody who is dependent upon criticism and killing success. You want to be somebody who's helping people.
Yeah.
You want to be a light and shine where you are.
Okay, and the last question. What advice would you give me as somebody who wants to be an educator but is still in college? Y'all can think on it for a second.
I think my advice is just go into it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Going into it for the summers off is not a good
No.
argument.
Yeah.
Because it is going to be challenging, but it's going to be the most rewarding thing that you do. Besides having a husband and besides having children, it's going to be a great job. You're going to be affirmed. Students, people, they get such a bad rap, but kids are really loving and they need love. So I think for you, it's just to know that you're going to see some really difficult things, and to understand that you can't bear their burdens, but you can be there with them, and that it's a great profession. I love it. I have never once, as a teacher, working with good people, said that I hate my job.
Yeah.
And I can't say that for everybody. Some people don't like their job. And I've been in situations before where I've hated my job. And when you get into that situation and circumstance, it's miserable.
Yeah.
But you truly are going to be so validated, and it's going to be so meaningful. So take everything that you're learning in college, take it in, but know that some of that is going to go out the window
Yeah.
when you get into the classroom, because the best laid plans, no matter how many lesson plan pages that you type out, sometimes it's not going to work out, and you have to learn to be flexible. So even now, while you're in college, learn flexibility, learn to just be willing to adapt, and like you gotta be willing to on the fly figure something out.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you think the best lesson plan is going to work, and it just fails miserably. You gotta go with the flow.
Yeah.
So don't get so stuck in having to have it laid out exactly perfectly, because it's not going to be perfect, and you're gonna get a reward. The Lord's gonna bless your time and effort in what you're doing.
And I think that the profession is mentally tasking, but at the same time, it is also mentally rewarding.
Yeah.
To where you reap the benefits of your hard work,
Yeah.
and don't get stuck in a rut. Just go through each day with "I've got this." And I know college is hard. College can be difficult. Course load,
Yeah.
lesson plans,
Yeah.
and I have memories of my 22-page lesson plans that I had to type out, and
That was my last semester.
It was-
wonderful.
yeah, it's mentally tasking because we had to type out, like, we had to even like foreshadow. I don't even know if foreshadow.
Student
like,
responses.
Student
Yeah.
responses.
Yeah.
Like we had to type in
Anticipate.
like, this is the question that the kids are going to ask. Here's a response that I'm going to give. Here's a question that I'm going to ask. Here are 5 responses that potentially the students will have, and that's mentally exhausting.
Yeah.
Especially when you have to do it over and over and over and over for every lesson that you teach. But at the same time, like, it's also rewarding because you know that you're getting to that point. You're getting closer to the end, and then you have the ability to be flexible
Yeah.
and to go in and plan your own lessons.
It prepares you for
And-
what you're gonna have to do, but it's not what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Because you do need to anticipate what kids are gonna ask, because they can come up with some really,
Especially littles.
they can come up
Yes.
with some
That's
crazy
what I'm
questions.
going.
Yeah.
And Lord.
Yeah, and you just have to really anticipate it, but you're gonna have to learn to be flexible.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's my advice for you while you're still in college. Stick with it. Take every advantage. Learn everything that you can. Really get into the classrooms. See a lot of different types of teachers as you
Mhm.
can.
Yeah.
Because that's the greatest teacher sometimes.
Yeah, and go in, like she said, go in and observe, like,
Mhm.
any extra time that you can. Like, if you're at one school and you're doing it for a particular class, if there's any way to get into other classrooms to go watch
Mhm.
other teachers, go watch other teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you might be observing one teacher and they may not teach the way that you anticipate
Yeah.
yourself
Yeah.
teaching.
Mhm.
So you want to try to get as much knowledge and more. Classroom management is
Mhm.
another thing, and just absorb everything that
Yeah.
you can.
Yeah.
And then that way you have more tools in your toolbox.
Yeah.
To where when it comes time for Chloe to have her own classroom,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you've got every tool that you need to be a successful teacher.
Mhm. Sometimes the best example is a non-example. So when you get into a class, you're like, I never want to do that. That
Yeah.
sometimes is a really good teacher.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't know that if you didn't get in the classroom. You're
Enjoy
gonna do great.
enjoy the profession.
It's
Enjoy
great.
it.
Okay, well, thank y'all for letting me interview y'all. I
You're
appreciate
welcome.
all of y'all's input and advice, and I hope that y'all teach for 100 more years.
Give her a 100.